Hey, good Saturday morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saturday, I believe, the 25th of May, 2013. You see the title down below. I want to discuss the recent run um, of what has been dubbed the Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II arc. And I know that there's been a lot of fans that have been divided on how they really feel about this arc. I mean, there's a lot of fans that are happy about it because it gives other characters a chance to shine and develop. And then there are other fans that don't like it because they feel it's too convoluted. It wasn't done right. And if you're only and some feel that, hey, if you're only doing this to put certain characters like, say, the main character, one of the main characters or main focus character of this arc, um, in a new in a new outfit or being fully clothed and all that, then you could have done it. Then they pretty much feel that they could have done that on a side story. Um, but when I look at this, and I admit, and I know a lot of people are upset about this, I admit, I have not read the issues yet. Yeah, hard to believe. You think I should be reading them by now. But I haven't read them. I only have about a few more months to finally complete this entire thing and see where we go from there. So don't worry, I will be reading them in time. But I'm just going to go by from what I've seen on YouTube. When people review and talk about things, and seen from what people have posted picture wise, or panel wise, screenshot wise, on some of the forums. Ugh. So, as well as at other places like DeviantArt, Sonic Stadium, the Sega forums, SonicSatAM.com, and other places, even TuneZone. And let's take a look at some of the. Let me start off by saying this. I will give Ian Flynn credit, as crazy as that sounds, for doing something that, yeah, I'm not a fan of. I will admit that, but doing something that, well, when you think about it, and I've thought about this a lot, because I've been talking a lot lately about SDMI, which is Scooby Doo Mystery Incorporated, and just like the recent run of this whole entire arc in the comic, I have not seen every episode of Mystery Incorporated. But from what I have seen glimpses of, from what I've heard people say about it at certain forums and websites, I have to applaud. Basically, I applauded the writers and producers and stuff for going in a direction and really giving us a twist ending in the very final moments of the last episode of that entire series. So I give them, so I gave them, I gave and give them credit for doing things normally you wouldn't have seen before in the Scooby Doo franchise. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized, you know what? I may not like what he did with Sally, honestly, as a fan, but I have to applaud Ian Flynn. I have to give him some credit for doing something that, yes, it had been done before. Hold on. Sorry about that. But like I said, yes, it had been done before, back in issue 29. But let's face it. It was only done for less than half of that issue. I mean, that was about it. Less than half of that issue. I mean, you're looking like at 7 pages worth, and that was it. Um, um, so I do applaud. So I do give him credit, not applaud. Well, I do applaud, but give him a bit of credit for doing the same thing, but taking it to another level. Now, it may not be a level that a lot of fans are happy with at times, and I will understand that because when you look at issue 230 and you say to yourself, well, if he's going to keep it that way, then you know why change her about? Why modify her? And you see, and that's the one gripe a lot of fans have. They're like, well, why did he do this? Why did he modify her? Why did he weaponize her? And as some fans have speculated, and again, this is speculation, why did he, as some of them are afraid Ian Flynn had the villain Eggman do outside, was why did he gut her? In other words, take her apart and rebuild her and all that. And honestly, I don't think he did that. I don't think Ian would go that far with this. But, again, though, you can understand where they're coming from. And to me, I'm not happy with what he did. I mean, I'll be honest with that. I'll be honest with that. I'm not totally happy with what he did with her. But again, I kind of see it from the perspective of others. And they got a point. It does, believe it or not, it does create some character development. It does allow not just for Sally down the line, but it allows characters currently that personally are affected by this to have development and be able to do things and stuff that normally they wouldn't do. So, you got characters like Rotor, you got Nicole, you got Elias, you got the Wolf Twins, you've got, all these characters that are getting this opportunity, and it's really helping them out. It really is at times. I mean, you're seeing sides of them that you haven't seen in a while and didn't think you would see. I mean, so yeah, there are some positives that came out of it, and for someone like Sally, the positive's going to come afterwards, because depending on what the after effect's going to be of this current Genesis wave that has caused the current run of the crossover, it's all going to depend on that and how she reacts to what she did. So again, that is a positive. Now, once again, am I a fan for what Ian did, making her roboticized? No, I'm not. I'm not. So I really, I'm really not a fan of it. I'm not, but I understand why he did it. I understand from other fans' perspective that he did it in their minds for character development. And that's probably true. So I give him that. The one thing though I will say that's negative is I think the timing may have been off on this entire thing. I really do. Here's what I mean. You could have easily done this storyline, this whole Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II deal down the line. It would have been, to me, it would have been much better if they would have done this, let's say, around the 230th issue. Not just, well, yeah, it is the 230th issue, what am I saying? I think it would have been better, quite honestly. Because it's going on a year, right? It's going on a year. I mean, well, his original plan was a year, right? So, this is what I think they could have done. I think, in all honesty, they could have started around 238, if not 237, about 238. They could have started there. And they could have easily worked their way up. Now, the reason I say that is because if Ian knew by this time this whole thing was starting around 2:30, if he knew by then that we were going to have a crossover, that there was going to be a crossover officially given the thumbs up, officially given the green light to be made between Sonic and Mega Man, if he knew by then, if not before, I would have tried to work the crossover into that. I would have, if he had known. If he had known, I would have tried to work the crossover between 231 and because they get like every third part, like 31, 32, 33, 34, right? Or at least maybe 33, 34, 35, 36, or 35, or 34, 35, 36, 37. And then you could have easily done 238 to 50 to 250 and make 250 the climax of his entire arc like he originally had planned to do. So I will say, and this is my own personal opinion, I will say the timing may have been off, and if you would have switched things around, it probably would have been better. But I can understand why probably he did it this way and why he had to improvise the way he did. And yeah, I understand how people feel like, oh, he's doing the Genesis wave again. What's the After Effects going to be this time? But we got to give him credit. He is kind of giving the game fans something that they've been wanting, and that's a crossover between Sonic and Mega Man. Even though I'm sure they'd rather have Sonic and Mario, but hey, this is the best you could do right now. But getting back to the story arc, again, negatively, I think the timing was off. To be honest with you, I really think the timing was off, and I think they could have reworked it to where it could have been done later on, this entire arc. But I digress. Again, the positives, though, I will say, is you're getting a lot more character development, not just for Sally afterwards, but you're going to get a lot of character development for the characters right now. I mean, one of the characters that we're hoping to get some development out of very soon is Bunny Rabbit. I mean, the whole situation she's going through and everything, we don't know what effect the Genesis After Effect is going to have on her, if she's going to go bad, if she's going to go back to good. I mean, the last time they did the Genesis wave, she was still good. So whatever effect this has, and that's another thing too, and I'll get into that in a second, but whatever effect it has on her this time, all I know is we better get some damn good character development out of her, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with that. But again, yeah, it's all about the character development, and I know one of the negatives that fans have is that basically what's been going on from essentially 233 till recently 247 has been nothing more than a game of cat and mouse, and that the only character development we've gotten out of it is other characters' reactions to what's happened to Sally. So again, That's the only that's the only thing I think people look at as being negative. It's a current cat and mouse game, and it does seem like that at times. It's like, okay, they encounter Sally, they fight Sally, and then whoever's fighting her lets her go. But there is some positives. You see, one thing a lot of people pointed out about this, it is from what I've read and stuff, is even though they had Sally right where they wanted her, and they could have easily recaptured her, they decided to let her go and save whatever area that they were in. Whether it was a village or whatever, they were willing to save it. So I give them that. I will give them that. I will give them that because that is a positive. It's like, okay, you have your best friend and right where you want to have her so you can capture and try to restore her. But yet, you have citizens below that are in danger. You need to go take care of that first. So, yeah, I will admit that is a positive out of this whole cat and mouse deal. So that is a positive right there. Now, the other stories that kind of relate to this as well that took place in Sonic Universe, like the Scrambled arc, featuring Eggman, Snively, and the Iron Queen, I thought was okay. I mean, here you literally have Snively basically finally having enough of Eggman and saying, "Hey, look, me and Regina, the Iron Queen, we did a better job than you ever could. We're the ones that actually conquered the city, and yet you come back and you can't even do it." So I like how they have that little confrontation there, and it does involve Sally and Monkey Kong's reaction because of what Ian wrote between them. And the one thing I will say, and it's a positive for Monkey Kong, because I know some people kind of have a love-hate relationship with that character, is at least he was willing to sacrifice his own freedom, his own free will, and he did, to save Sally by giving her his Power Ring crown to keep her recharged, to keep her alive. Now, the way I look at this is I think this is probably the first step in her restoration, or her at least regaining her free will, because if I read right in some of the panels that were put onto YouTube and as well as put onto some of the sites, and from what I've read, the power ring that Eggman put in her originally, he had modified, he corrupted, but this one was not. This one that Monkey Kong gave her was not. So it makes you think if perhaps it's working. It might be working a tiny bit at her regaining her free will. So I'll give positive character development for Monkey Kong for doing that. Because he could have easily said, "Okay, Sally, he could have easily been like, you know what, Sally's no more. She's not listening. She's not trying to fight. I'm just going to have to hurt her and destroy her and all that." He could have easily done that, but he didn't. He didn't, so I will give him the character development. I'll give him the positive on that. And again, the Scrambled arc, from what I understand, was one of the okay ones that Ian Flynn did, because it basically showcased that Snively was sick and tired of listening to Eggman, and basically in what I consider classic, let's say Megatron Starscream situation, Snively wants to prove that he could be a better leader, he could be a better ruler, along with Regina, the Iron Queen. And when you think about it, you go back to the Iron Dominion arc, whether you like it or not, again, because it was another drug out year-long, if not a little over a year-long arc. When you think about it, he does have a point, because towards the end of that arc, him and the Iron Queen, they did seemingly the impossible. They conquered Pneumo Petropolis. They conquered basically the heart of Mobius, just like that almost. I mean, heck, for a temporary time, briefly though, she conquered, or she hacked into and manipulated Nicole into an Iron Nicole. Yes, it didn't last long, and Nicole was reverted back thanks to Sally, but still. But still, Snively in the scrambled arc deal has a point. Hey, we did a better job. Once I get rid of you, we can restart from where we left off and do it again or whatever. So I will give him that on the whole scrambled arc deal. I mean, I like how that was more like, Snively trying to prove he could be the better ruler. Um, and again, as far as the other characters goes, like the Secret Freedom Fighters, I like the concept behind them. They're kind of like they're kind of like a Men in Black kind of ninja stealth kind of group. Like, okay, we're in hiding. We're a group that we're in hiding and everything, and that maybe if you do see us, you won't see us again. You won't know who we are because we're wearing these. And I'll give them credit. The outfits are pretty cool. I mean, I like that. I like how they all have the same outfit, different colors. But I will give them the credit for giving them that to identify them as a team. And I like how they gave them certain names as well. So, like I said, basically gave them certain names as well. So, yeah, again, like I said, I like that concept to where it's supposed to be like a very stealth team that with nobody in the city knowing, they're trying to take down Nagus and Jeffrey St. John on and try to basically get them away from the throne, basically, get Nagus off the throne and all that. And throughout this, I do like the character development of Jeffrey. Yes, we may have not liked the fact that Ian turned him traitor and retconned his origins and his past and all that, but I like the fact that he's giving him some character development here to the point that because he's suddenly having a change of heart and realizing Nagus is not exactly who he claimed to be, I like how, he's like finally standing up to the guy, but unfortunately for his courage, for his change of heart, Nagus possesses his body. And why does Nagus possess his body? Because one of the subplots of this entire universe portion of the entire arc was Nagus was basically deteriorating. His body was mutating and deteriorating to the point that if he did not possess another body, find another body for a host body, he would die. And one thing I like about this, even though it could have been the last appearance of a lot of these characters, which I don't think they were, I like the fact how you have Brina and Jules stand up to Nagus and say, "Hell no, you're not going to take Jules' body for your own." I like how Alicia stands up and says, "Hey, he's done this once before with you, no way." And I like how King Max, even though he's in a wheelchair, confined to a wheelchair, he basically has the courage to say, "No, I'm not going to let you do this to me again." So, I mean, I will, and that's positive right there. That's a positive right there. You have these characters that at times, like let's say Max, Sally's father, Sally and Elias's father, who you would basically not like, basically finally stand up to Nagus and go like, give him the middle bird, like silently give him the middle bird and say, "Fuck you." So, anyway, I will give Ian credit in that positive because, you don't normally see. I mean, yeah, you do normally see at times, but times that change of heart. But still, it's really interesting. It really is. It was really kind of interesting because here you had around, I think it was what 217, not two, no, 219, 220, something like that. You had Jeffrey around one of those issues stabbed Sonic in the back and reveal why he did it. So, yeah, to me it was pretty cool. I mean, I'll give him credit. Looking at that, finding out about that, I'll give him credit on it. I really will. As far as Antoine goes, Antoine really had some character development here, especially with his not fatal but comatose sacrifice, if you will. Because basically here you had Antoine seeing Metal Sonic and hearing Metal Sonic being told, grab on to that chariot where the acorn, where the young acorn family is, and blow it up with them in there. And here you have Antron basically intercepting Metal Sonic and basically sacrificing himself to save the royal family. So I really do like that, and that's great character development, even though unfortunately he might have to get a redesign. Because of this. And a lot of people are fearing about that redesign, whether it's going to be half cyborg or something like that. I don't think so. I mean, if he does become half cyborg, it kind of pays homage to his dad, but I don't think so. I think the Genesis wave, believe it or not, the new Genesis wave, you may hate me when I say this, will be the Deus Macha for Antoine. He'll basically be healed by that. I don't know why, I just do. Anyway, though, I I like the character development they gave Antoine. Um, I will say this about Silver, because I know people want to hear about Silver. You know, this whole situation with Silver trying to find the traitor and all that, it's been going on for a while, and it's finally coming to its conclusion. We hope. Now, apparently, a lot of people have pretty much called it. I called it, if you will. Some people called it that as soon as Sally was roboticized and then weaponized and all that, then we pretty much said, there's your traitor. There's Silver's traitor. Because everything that was talked about in the previous stories with Silver, where the teams broke up because of this traitor. You know, because the Freedom Fighters broke up because of this traitor and all that, essentially did happen. And thus, here you have that same thing happening in this timeline. So, thankfully, it is hopefully coming to an end. But why did it take so long? Why did it take so long for the traitor to be revealed? You know, I know that's one thing a lot of fans want to know is why did it take so long? And honestly, I think Ian didn't know who he wanted to make as the traitor. I think some of the names that people tossed around, like Rotor, Nicole maybe, Bunny, even Sonic again, all these names had been tossed around, even Antoine before what happened to him, had all been tossed around. If you will. It had all been tossed around, if you will. Even Sally, who ended up being the traitor, you know, I'm sure, you know, all these names being tossed about, Ian was juggling with who he wanted to be, who he wanted it to be. And then I'm sure when he came up with this story arc, he's like, you know what? I found a way to wrap up the Silver Traitor sub arc as well. And there you go. And a lot of people may not like the fact that it was obvious from about, 230 and 232. You know, I'll give him that. But here's the twist that, in a positive way, you could say, kind of works in Ian's favor. And that is the fact that Sally's the traitor, but she's an unwilling traitor. It's like she's not doing, it's like what she's doing is she wouldn't normally do. So, yeah, she's basically an unwilling traitor, you know, and she unwillingly caused everything to happen the way it did. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I'll give Ian some slack, if you will, some credit there, and the fact that that's a unique twist. Like, it's okay, she's the traitor, but she's an unwilling traitor, and here you have Silver basically telling Sonic, hey, I got my facts mixed up. History got their facts mixed up. 200 years into the future, history got its facts mixed up, or lost the information that needed to be there to explain why there was a traitor. So, again, I'll give him a positive on that. The negatives though, I will say this: the story he originally had planned, when he said basically it was going to be double the length of the Iron Dominion arc, we pretty much knew that he meant it was going to be near 2 years. We pretty much knew that. I mean, as soon as 230 happened, and he said that entire arc was going to be double what we had before, that pretty much told us that we were going to end up with the conclusion being 2 years later, if not a year, a little over a year later. About basically about 20 months later, if you will, if not that. And this kind of tells me that he did want to probably do this a lot later than usual, because this whole Mecha Sally Death Egg Mark II deal, he wanted to do it a heck of a lot later than what he originally planned, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. If it was going to be double the length, then fine. I get that. But something tells me he wanted to do it a lot later. I don't know why, but again, I don't know why. I just get this feeling he wanted to do it later, but he ended up doing it at the time frame he did because other things were popping up. But even if that isn't the case, I will say this. The negative draw about this is the fact that, you know, like I mentioned earlier, the whole cat and mouse deal, I will agree with people on this. It's just basically you could have ended this a lot sooner and then spent the rest of the saga, if you will, going after the Death Egg and preventing Eggman from doing whatever he was going to do again, like causing another Genesis wave and stuff like that. I give him that. I understand how people feel about that. I agree with that. You could have had Sally captured, put her in containment or something like that until the whole situation was over. You know, have team fighters, if you will, hunt down the Death Egg, destroy it, be done with it, whatever. Even do your crossover if you wanted to. That way, you basically have the Sally portion done, and then you could have had the rest of the arc going forward. But he didn't do that, and he decided to just do what he did. And here's what's funny, though. A lot of people point out that in several issues throughout, Sally's not even directly involved until the very end. I mean, Sally's not involved for up until what? Okay, what we have? We had a return in 247, 46, 45, 44, 43. You did not have her directly involved. 42, not involved. So essentially, for 5 months, she was not physically involved. At what point? 5, 6 months. So to me, you could have easily had her captured around maybe, let's say, 240, and then used the rest of those issues to end the entire story arc, focusing mainly on trying to stop the Death Egg. Just saying. But again, I can understand why he did it, because he wants to climax this entire thing altogether. And the negative, though, about this is it's dragging out. And that's a bit of a negative, but again, I can understand why he wants to do it. The other negative as a fact is it's constantly this arc constantly is getting interrupted. Constantly. I mean, 242, it gets interrupted because they want to use the main story arc portion of that issue as say, hey, let's put an advertisement up for the Olympic Games. Let's do an Olympic tie-in for this and all that. When that could have easily been done as a backstory or you know what, maybe even used in the same Sonic Universe issue that you were advertising All-Star, that you were using to advertise All-Star Transformed. You could have easily put those two together. But he didn't. He didn't. And even Ian Flynn has shown that he's not happy about having to interrupt two arcs or two issues of both comics that could have easily been used to continue the arc just so Sega can have their publicity right then and there. It's like Sega doesn't even know good timing when it needs to be, doesn't know good timing from bad timing when it comes to comic book adaptations of the characters. Another negative, of course, is the whole damn lawsuit, behind the scenes. I mean, the fact that Ian Flynn in Archie Comics, mostly Ian Flynn, has to alter what he does. I mean, one fan pointed out because they got these from, I guess, buying them offline or getting them from backstage stores or wherever. They basically, through the time and effort, showcased what 247, and I think even not 247, but what was it? Not 247, 243 and 244. One of them was going to be. They basically showed that in some of the panels that were altered, some of the lines, that not only was some of the lines, the bubble lines, the lines in the bubbles, in the speech bubbles, I should say, were altered and changed, but also shows certain panels where certain things were changed. Like, there's one panel that points out the death egg in the freaking background. So, I ask you this. If it weren't for the lawsuit, would those panels been added into the endangered species arc? You're damn right they would have been. But because of the damn lawsuit, they had to be altered. And then, if that's not enough, covers have to be altered slightly. Like the one cover of 244, I believe, or something, on the bottom right-hand corner, or left-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner, you have Amy Rose and Julie Sue back to back to each other. But what happens because of the lawsuit? It's only Amy Rose. It's like it's complete BS. It's like complete BS. And that's the negative, because you could have had more character development there, but because of what's going on, you didn't. It had to be altered, it had to be changed. And to me, it's like, when is this whole thing? And this lawsuit's not even over yet. And that's the one thing a lot of people are afraid of too, that this current run with the comic, depending on when the license ever expires again, could be the last complete run for Archie Comics along with this comic. Along with the Sonic comic. It could be, but not saying it will be. Anyway, that to me is one of the bigger negatives of them all. It's one of the biggest negatives of this entire arc that's been caused. But probably the other negative, it's not as big of a negative, but it could have been done, like I said, a lot. Could have been, and I think a lot of people agree with this, it could have been done afterwards. It could have been done before, and that is the crossover with Mega Man. Now, I'm not saying that the crossover is bad. From what I've read so far, it's pretty good. Not just from what people have said on the forums and all that, but from what I've seen with the issues that I've gotten of Mega Man, the 2 Mega Man issues, Sonic 248, and I still have yet to open it 249. And the other issues I got to get. From what I've seen, it looks pretty good. So I will give it that positive. I'll give the crossover a positive there. It looks pretty good. Even though we've kind of seen that kind of story arc before, but still, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Anyway, like I said, the reason the crossover is a negative is because it's being done. It's basically causing this entire story arc, the whole Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II story arc, to be essentially put on standby because of this. And how do you work the crossover in, even though it's going to sort of have some connection to the continuity? Maybe not. You have another Genesis wave. And how do you have another Genesis wave happen? You basically say, hey, that blue Chaos Emerald that Eggman's looking for, it ended up in Mega Man's world. So that's how it happens. But again, the timing, like I said, that Sega, Capcom, and even Archie may have with this is completely ridiculous. I mean, like I said, Ian Flynn has even said that the timing would even say the crossover's timing was not good. Because Ian wanted to end this entire Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II story arc by 250. He wanted to end it. He wanted to end it by then originally, but because Capcom and Sega and Archie say, "Hey, we want this crossover right now," mostly Capcom and Sega going like, "Hey, we want this crossover for the summer. We want it for the summer of 2013. Can you make it happen?" He had no choice. He had no choice. And I can understand, yes, they want to do it to tie into the 250th issue of Sonic and the 25th issue of Mega Man, as well as Mega Man's 20th anniversary as a franchise and Sonic's 20th anniversary as a comic book as part of a comic book franchise. But still, you could have done it a lot later or even before. So, oh heck, even given its own little 12-issue spin-off comic. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure a lot of people agree with that. Because, again, the timing is off on it when it comes to the Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II story arc. The timing is completely off. Again, the crossover is good. I will say that. It's just the timing for it couldn't have been done at a worser time. And I'm sure Ian Flynn would agree with that. The positives, though, like I've mentioned earlier, you got better character. You got characters being developed more. One positive, even though I don't like what he's done to Sally, I will say he's taking risks and doing things with her. He did something with her that had been done before, but not to the level and extent that he did. And no, I don't think he gutted her. I think he just placed weaponized armor on top of her. But hey, to each their own. You know what I'm saying? But to me, those are my positives and negatives as far as the whole Mecha Sally World Tour 2 Death Egg Mark II story arc goes. So let me know what you guys think down below. Sorry this took so long, but I had to get a lot off my chest. And again, after watching and talking about SDMI, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, I just felt I had to give this another shot and probably refine what I had said before in the past. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. Video responses are greatly appreciated. I'll talk to you later.